Welcome back to our quirky little podcast, Token Students. Today is... Hi guys, obviously. I'm Dana.
I'm Olivia, who was 15 minutes late today. Sorry, guys.
I'm Santino.
I'm Nathan.
Why are your voices so similar? Like, listening to it now.
I'm trying to say something.
Are our voices similar?
Wait,
No,
like,
it's not.
It just sounded similar, like, just now. I don't know. Okay, let's go on.
Okay, let's go on. Okay, this is our second episode, and today's topic is why are Asian parents so scary?
Equals my parents.
Equals my parents?
Equals
No.
my parents too.
I mean, I was like going to specific about like my parents, like because they might hear this episode, right? But normally, like Asian parents are called like tiger moms, tiger dads.
Helicopter
Right.
mom. My parents are so overprotective.
Helicopters. Wait, where did helicopters come from?
What? Like, I guess it's as in like your parents hover around.
Oh, like
you.
they're monitoring
Yeah,
you.
they're like
Always watching you.
Always watching.
That's
I
scary.
study in my living room because my parents require me to. Ha ha ha.
What? Like
Yeah.
very relative.
No, I can't go into my room, but like they like being able to see me study.
Oh
I
my
always
God.
love-
I do have a history of playing games while I need to study, so I do understand where they're coming from. But yeah,
Great.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like
then,
you need to have like great peripheral vision, like if you have like Asian parents, because like when you're like gaming, when you're like supposed to be like
yeah.
studying.
Watch them coming from like the kitchen.
like
so
through
they
your
change the
like,
screen.
yeah, like through their peripheral vision, you're like, oh Jesus, and then you like change
Yeah.
the tabs or
Change the
something.
tabs.
Yeah.
Let me
Scary,
tell you
scary.
guys a tip on a Windows computer. Control the Windows button plus the like the side by side, and you can change like the
tabs?
the monitor. So I've never gotten caught with this method. Mom, please don't listen to this. Please don't listen to this.
Okay, then let's listen to our story today.
Yeah. So this comes from a young gentleman with
Young gentleman.
with a Korean girlfriend. Hello, token students. I have a Korean girlfriend whose parents are very very strict. Before going to a date with me, she has to like get examined her clothes, and she has to like
Oh my God.
complete her like homework. She has to be like at home by 10 p.m.
Oh,
I can't
God.
party with her. Like, why are Asian parents so scary and strict?
Definitely. This, like, the clothes part is so real because before coming to Korea, my parents never said anything about my clothes. Like, I could wear however short I wanted and be perfectly fine. They'd be perfectly fine. But after coming to Korea, like, they would be like, Olivia, your shorts are too short. Your crop top is too short. And things like that. They would start saying these things, and I'd be like,
I mean, like-
Mom, I've been wearing this, like, crop top for, like, 2 years, and you
Why
never...
suddenly in Korea?
Yeah, you've never said anything to me about it in the U.S. Why are you suddenly so strict?
I mean, like, why do that? Why do they do that? Because I see like no point in like regulating anybody's clothes, like
Yeah.
in whatever reason possible.
Well, luckily, I do live in a dorm right now with my wonderful friends, and my parents
Wonderful
cannot...
friend, one number here.
And
Great.
my
One here.
parents cannot see what I wear, so I'm free to wear whatever I want.
But
in
we
the
have like
afternoon.
school regulations, right?
Yeah, we have school uniforms, but I've never seen anyone talk to anyone about like their clothes while they during like the afternoon after school's over. But
Right. Actually, I'm wearing my school uniform right now.
why?
Lame.
It's
I'm sorry.
it's Sunday. Why do you still want to be in these clothes?
It's
God.
kind of convenient, by the way.
I mean, because he's in our gym uniform right now, and I have to admit, it's like nice. It is very comfortable.
Well, actually,
thanks
it-
for the compliment, by the way.
well, actually, it's my job because I'm like so-called GLM, Global Leaders
Yeah.
Monitor. It's actually
These
my
guys,
yeah, it's actually my job to catch people with so-called inappropriate clothes. But in my head, I don't really like believe that like crop tops and like mini skirts or
Yeah.
short skirts, like that kind of things is really like inappropriate and all kind of that stuff. So
I've seen GLMs wearing their uniforms inside out or something.
We
Guys, we're digressing a little too
Okay,
much.
okay.
Okay, let's
get
like kind
to
of wind
it.
back into the episode for today. Hey, am I sounding a little strict? Am I an Asian parent? No.
Dana is the Asian parent.
Well,
group.
well, we are
Okay.
like all definitely potential candidates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we grow up and have kids, we'll be Asian parents. Hopefully less strict.
I know that Asian parents are strict because my parents were very strict when I was young. So I have this like little anecdote. This is a little sad. So when I was young, I had to go to a math academy, and my parents wanted me to like go get into the highest class, which was class A.
Ooh.
So I took the entrance test, but I got into class B, and class B wasn't as special as class A. So, but in my mentality, I was like, okay, I can study more. I can study more and take the entrance test again, and then I can go to class A. But my mom
Ooh.
was very mad about that. My mom was like,
No.
oh my God, you got into class B? Not class A. Are you paranoid? Like, yeah, she was like screaming at me in the street.
Have you guys?
Yeah.
Do you guys know that the
Like, there were like pedestrians walking by, and she like
Oh, no.
screamed at me, and I
So
was like so sad. I was like
embarrassing.
6 years old, and I was like,
6 years.
yeah,
That's
I-
kind of
6
harsh.
years old.
Yeah,
like not
yeah, that-
16 now. You were 6 years
yeah,
old.
I tear it up in the street, and my mom was like, "Why are you crying?"
Do you guys know that? I mean,
Who?
A for average, B for bad, C for I don't know why, but F I remember is find a new family.
Yeah,
Or for like,
I
or
found
for like
that
maybe
kind of
like for
memes.
D, it's kind of like for deceased.
You
Oh
know
my
this kind
God.
of thing like you're an Asian, not a Bijan. You know.
Yeah, you're Asian, not a
Oh
fool.
yeah. That
There
was
are a lot of memes about like strict tiger moms.
that was a good pun.
Yeah.
But like luckily my mom isn't like rigorous as like she was before. So I had like a talk with her because I personally think that being strict is like a way of expressing love to your offspring in Asian culture, you know.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
because you want your kids to have like lucrative careers in the future. You want your kids to like live in a nice
yeah,
house.
like
and,
definitely, but like
yeah,
the
have a
problem-
nice car and stuff.
I mean,
so
I mean, but the problem is that like the moms and the dads like they do it for love, but for the
Yeah.
kids like they don't
Yeah, it's
receive.
like-
they
it's like
cannot
total hell.
receive the love.
But since I've grown up, I've come to see it as a sign of showing love. It's like a
Yeah.
different way of expressing
they
your
just
love.
look at the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, they are very future.
Well, but-
centered.
Well, but don't know much about that, but
I think like a part of this is that like because especially for Asian American parents or even people who just parents who are just Asian, it's that they have had tough childhoods. For example, Asian American immigrants, like a lot of the Asian Americans that are listening to this podcast right now are probably second gen, 1.5 gen, something like that.
Right.
And their parents are probably immigrants, like first-gen immigrants that had to move over to the U.S. with literally nothing in their pockets.
Yeah, right.
hmm For a lot of Koreans, a lot of people moved to the U.S. or other countries during the Korean War to flee from war. And so many of these people had to flee quickly to be safe. So when they arrived in the U.S., they had nothing on them.
Yeah, even though they had like prestigious careers in Korea, they can't use their license in the U.S.
Right.
Yeah, it's literally nothing. So they had to start from scratch. They had to like
Right.
make new businesses. They bought like rundown houses or like shacks and turned them into like Asian cuisine restaurants or like apothecary clinics, like the Chinese apothecary things. It was difficult and it was extremely tiring to succeed. But they were determined to develop their business because the first generation immigrants had to start a second life in the U.S. Once they had babies and offspring, their first priority was to educate them and make them live a better life. And I think because the reason why Asian parents are so strict is because they want their children to not like suffer
to
through the
have
things.
better lives.
Yeah,
than
not
they did,
not to
right?
suffer through the things that they had to suffer through.
Yeah, and we did explore this concept of education in our first episode. So if you
Right.
didn't listen to that, you can go. There will be a link somewhere.
I mean, thinking in that perspective, that's like kind of like real love, right? On like a material, it kind of
it's
like
a-
kind of like materialistic, but on
yeah.
like a realistic
a
level.
different
Yeah, right.
way to express your love, like I've been saying since
It's
the
all
beginning
made out of love and care, guys.
I want to believe that all parents love their child. I want to believe that all parents love their child.
Yeah, right.
And Asian parents being strict is like, as you guys said, is different like perspective of giving love and care. And this is so as I said in the last like episode, this comes from this this is a result of like Confucianism.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mhm.
I would say that a huge part of like this
And
Asian
Confucianism
parents'
also values like
yeah,
family
strictness thing
values.
is a part of Confucianism, which Santino did explore a lot and Dana explored a lot in our previous episode.
Great.
To those of you wondering what the hell Confucianism is, it's a system, it's more of a culture of thoughts and behavior that originates from this Chinese guy named Confucius. As most of you know, China has had and still has huge cultural influences all over Asia. Its influence is so huge that even though it's been erased from a lot of people's conscious minds, it's still very actively a part of Asian culture. And something that Confucianism puts an emphasis on is a strict relationship with one's parents. Parents are expected to sacrifice pretty much everything for their kids, and the kid is expected to do exactly what their parent wants.
Yeah.
It's actually like more complicated than this explanation, but I feel like it's a pretty good way of exploring what what cultures expect traditionally from parents and their children.
Yeah, and if you check out the little, not little, but the great books that Confucius and Mencius, you might not know Mencius, but he's also a great Chinese guy, a philosopher. And when you check out those books, they directly say to not show your care to your child.
Oof.
It's not mandatory. It's not
Wow,
required.
I mean, like that is tough, like
Yeah,
for the
that's
kid.
cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they have quite
Aw.
a reasonable reason. Like they, in their perspective, if they give too much love and affection to their child, it's not really good for their
I guess they think it'll like spoil them or something.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
for their independence, I believe.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like this has changed over the years. Like my parents personally, they are quite strict. Like I said, I only have to study in my living room, but even so, I do feel very, very loved in my family. I'm the youngest, so I get like youngest privileges.
Oh.
They love me so much. They want to do everything that they can for me, which includes getting a higher education. Like I go to a school that has kind of like an expensive tuition, but they
Y'all go
are
to the same
still
school.
yeah. They even though it is expensive, all of the people who are here right now, we all pay the same tuition. But our parents are still willing to do this for us, even though it may be a bit hard on them, in order to ensure us a brighter future.
Yeah, I really believe that this is this is improving throughout the generations. Like I also am under a very strict parent. Like not very, but I am under a strict parent. But I do feel very loved, and they always like explain that they really love me, because like throughout the generations that they know there were our parents was also a child once, right? So
Right.
they know that being too strict and too harsh on kids, like they're not really good for their education. So I believe that's why they're getting better, like improving the bad aspects of Confucianism.
Yeah. Also, my mom is actually a middle school teacher here in
Oh,
Korea.
wow.
So she does like know a lot of things about like caring for children and like how their mind works to be able to nurture them the best. And something that she told me that I really related with is how making your kids study at like a really young age, how it's kind of bad for them. Because as a middle school teacher, she has met so many kids, and something that she feels that is a misconception with these Asian parents is that they think making their kids study a lot when they're young is like good for them. But for a lot of these kids, they'll be studying ever since they're like I don't know, 4 years old or something. And once they get to like middle school, high school, they'll be so sick of studying, and they'll just let
Right.
go of everything.
Yeah, that's what happened to my
Yeah.
friend. Yeah.
And that would be like something that's not very good for the kids' like actual future. So I feel like that's something that should change with these parents.
Yeah, it should obviously change. So, like, to talk about myself a little bit, like, my mom and my dad were really strict when I was young. But now, like, because I had this, like, conversation and I kind of, like, had a conflict with them, they're, like, kind of more lenient right now. But in the past, I had to go to, like, a science academy, English academy, math academy, like, speech and debate competitions when I was, like, 7 or 8.
Wow.
And it was really hard on me because I was kind of an introvert when I was young, and it was hard for me to participate in a lot of activities. But my mom like kept pushing me to go to these competitions, and I didn't want to. But I was so scared of them because they would like push me so hard, so I couldn't say anything to them. So I would like cry in the bathroom and then go and do my like public speaking thing, and like come back. And
my God,
it was like dreadful. But I think like I was able to increase my knowledge a lot when in that period. So I'm grateful for them. But still, I wish my parents would have been a little less strict.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Something I have a really similar experience to Dana. Like, my older brother, he's 4 years older than me, and he is a math major. So ever since he was in like middle school, he showed like talent for math. So he would go on he would do math competitively, basically take tests like the AMC, the AME, USMOS, things like that. And
I respect him.
Yeah, I do too. And I guess my parents were like, oh, since our son is a huge math person, maybe our daughter will be the same.
Oh my God.
So starting like
no, not the same expectations.
Maybe in like 5th grade, they would send me to math counts. They would send me to my math counts club in my elementary school. And this persisted until middle school, until I told them I hate math and I don't want to do it anymore. I feel like they didn't really have like the expectations for me, but it was myself that felt that my parents and everyone around me expected to be as good as my brother was. And this was a huge part of me starting to hate math. And it's this like this kind of traumatized me, I guess, when I was little.
That's that's very much psychological pressure.
Yeah, it is definitely, which is why I still am not that confident with my math to this day, actually. And I am kind of regretful that I wish my parents hadn't made me do like competitive math when I was so young. So maybe if I didn't do it at that time, maybe I could have found myself being better at math and liking math a bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like you want to go ahead?
Oh yeah. I mean, I kind of like had the same thing with math because although I wouldn't go into like specifics, I had a really hard time between my parents because like my mom taught me math, and
oh wow, your mom taught you math?
Yeah, from a very young age. So it was like very, very hard and difficult for me because like schedules were every day like from like school math to Sunday. Like my mom would teach me like 7 days or like 7 days straight a week.
Break.
So even though she was like really kind during that like math sessions, like just the fact that your mom teaches you math and like seven days a week for like 3 hours a day, it just like stresses you out, like and like it like deprives you of like all energy and like motivation to explore math as a student, right?
Definitely.
And it was like, although I enjoyed English, it was kind of like the same with English too, because like since I was like maybe like born or maybe since I was like 2 or 3, my grandmother would like talk to me in English like all the time when I was in, because she was like English teacher in high school, so I kind of had the same like Spartan that education. Yeah.
I think like every Asian kid kind of goes through this like bickering and like nitpicking from their like parents, and like because of that they kind of feel that they need like emancipation from their life or liberty, and they yearn for like autonomy because everything they want to do and everything they do is like controlled by their parents, so they can't choose what they want to do. And
right.
Yeah, and I think that's like a really big limitation. And this is what I had a conversation about with my parents. So for me, my parents were kind of skeptical that I wouldn't be able to do all these stuff. I wouldn't do all these stuff if it weren't for my parents like
coaching.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I can do this. And so I like for a year kind of tried my own planning and like wrote planners and
And
made, yeah.
I guess it worked.
Yeah,
I
it
guess
worked,
it worked.
and they kind of believed in me. So right now, I'm just managing my own
Yeah, I
stuff.
mean, like,
that's nice.
like when we like
Mhm.
look at like your schedule and the way you manage your schedule, like
That is-
like it didn't just work. It worked like
Yeah.
like
Gosh.
tremendously,
Yeah, so
like beyond
I'm
expectations.
kind of
I
like
guess-
famous for
yeah.
having a lot of
She just proved her capacity.
Like
to her
she has
parents.
kind of like a very precise,
Yeah,
precise
killer
schedule.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah. I mean, she has like so much workload, but like
Yeah,
she
so
managed to
much.
just like manage time like so
So
exactly
well,
on point.
yeah.
Thank you,
I
guys.
wish I was Dana. Like I suck at like
No.
self-management. Like I said, games is a huge part of this.
I suck at time management.
Yeah, I can relate.
So
too.
I think that like Asian kids need to have this conversation with their
Right.
parents, like about their feelings, about being pushed to the
Mhm.
cliff until they kind of want to like kind
Right.
of break apart when
Yeah,
they're studying.
I mean, so that is like kind of related to the point why in our country, especially in Korea and like in Eastern Asia, normally academic stress is like so high,
yeah, right.
and which like directly and indirectly relates with the high suicide level, especially in
Right.
Korea. That is like a real
Mhm.
tragedy, you know.
That's dark.
Like especially teenagers like thinking
Yeah.
of suicide in the first place
and
because of
they
that.
can't deal with all the stress.
Yeah, but the thing is that they don't have to be like have that much amount of stress to study the workload. Like
Yeah.
for me, I had so much stress when I was young when I was studying, but right now I'm just like happy when I'm studying because I
Yeah.
make my own plans and
That's-
stuff.
yeah.
I feel like that's Dana is like a huge example of what we
Aw.
should be doing because something that I think I've been thinking is that all this their parents coaching their kids and making them do things, be like do this, do that. I feel like this decreases like the chances of the kid growing independent.
Right. Yeah.
It just makes them more reliant on their
Mhm,
parents,
mhm.
and this is not necessarily a good thing. It
Right,
just it prevents them from being able to do more and being active by themselves. I think coming to a dorm and living in a dorm apart from my parents has helped me a lot with this kind of
Yeah, especially like
independence.
Right.
psychologically, that's
Yeah,
really
definitely.
helped me well too. And the fact that I would like to say to all like the Asian parents, like tiger moms, like please be aware because the high suicide rate and the high level of depression, especially to like academic stress, while it isn't like mainly it is although it may not be directly related to the parents, I just want to like emphasize that they have also an indirect
Right,
effect. Like, they have like
influence.
a contribution
Yeah.
to like kind of the academic stress, depression, and even suicide rates, right?
And
Very
I
necessary
feel
statement.
like parents are the largest source of energy that we get and motivation. So I feel like if our parents can stress us out, they can also relieve that stress and they can also be shelter to our, our tattered mental like selves. And I wish that our parents, everyone's parents, whether they're Asian or not, would just pay more attention to us and be more supportive of what we're trying to do, of our independence.
So I think today we talked about the love and hate relationship we have with our parents and like Asian kids because they want us to like succeed in the future. That's love, but also the system is not the system, but their education method is
Right.
a little too strict sometimes. So I think it was a very valuable time to like talk about our parents, talk about Asian parents,
Mhm.
and talk about like the relationship we can build between parents and kids.
I guess once we go home today, we're all gonna go give our parents huge hugs.
Okay.
And kisses. If
Great.
you're listening, go give your parents a hug.
Yeah, this can be like a little bit unrelated, but like talking like with you guys about like parents and how they're like meticulous with schedules. I like especially kind of like had like a guiltiness because I was like late 10 minutes today.
No, it's okay.
I was late
Olivia
15 minutes.
regarding-
You're
No, not
fine.
a
Olivia,
problem.
like Olivia and I are like, sitting on like the same side of the same aisle, and we were like we are the ones who are
Yeah,
late.
we are like the late ones.
No, it's okay. So thank you for listening to the second episode of our podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
I
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like I contributed very little, and especially in
no.
today's episode.
No, our next
You
episode,
con-
there's
you
going to be a
contributed
lot of talking by
mentally.
Santino.
No,
be ready for it.
philosophy.
Yeah,
I mean, let's go,
boredom
like something
alert.
related to like philosophy.
Yeah, of
so
course.
That Santino can
But-
give lectures.
Yeah.
I
Santino
think
like
you'll
has
love
a
it.
talent of making philosophy fun,
Mhm.
so I'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you for listening to the second episode of our podcast. Episode 3 is rolling out, so just wait for it. And it was great to talk with you guys.
See you next
See you
time.
later.
See you next
Oh,
time.
can you not?
Oh my god. Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Peace, peace.